Welcome in, everyone. This is Spitting Fire. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving week. Bergie and I took it off, but we're excited to get going. We've got a super tough slate of games, couple NBA acquisitions, so let's get right into it. Bergie, what we got for the sponsor?
Yeah, so we're always sponsored by R&R Brewing. Love them, really appreciate them. But today we're drinking the White Claws. I got mine. Matt, I think you have yours as well. I guess they're
Got
an unofficial
raspberry.
sponsor. Grapefruit.
And I told Connor before the show started, as I cracked this open, that this week's so hard in terms of picks. And, when the worst flavor calls, you just have to accept it. And what I told him is that when the worst teams, when they're going to cover the spread, you just got to accept it. So my week this week, just the thing I wrote on my notes here is bad teams not losing by a lot. That's basically what happened when I went through the picks this week. So we'll get right into it. But let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers just squeaking out a win. They finally had the game on Wednesday, a couple days back against the Ravens, my team. And Berg said he's got a lot to tell me about it.
I just don't understand. They are by far, it's not even a question anymore. They're the worst 11-0 team in history. They're not good. Also, now with Bud Dupree out, they're really it just keeps going downhill for them. I think they've now lost two key defensive players. I think their offense, as I keep saying, is suspect. I will say that it's, as we keep talking about, the most classic Steelers move to play down to their competition and barely beat a team that ended up with their third string quarterback playing. It's that was a horrible game. I think that it was just mismanaged a lot of ways, but I don't think the Steelers are good. I don't think that I don't see them as a serious Super Bowl contender.
So are you dropping them out of the AFC Championship game now?
The thing is, I still think they can get to the championship game, but I could honestly see the Chiefs winning by 100 in that game. So I don't know. I think if the Steelers don't have home field, I think that it's going to be very tough for them to get, to get there. Because if they don't get that bye, it's going to be tough for them to win a couple of games,
Right. I think it's like a couple years back when they made it to the championship game and they got trashed by the Patriots, like 35-3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same type of thing where throughout the season, there were these explosive moments. They had such an explosive team. They had Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had just those games where they underwhelmed you and played down on their competition, like you said. And then they're just blown out in the championship game. They don't have home field advantage. I kind of feel both ways. I also felt like this week was just so dysfunctional, right?
Mm-hmm.
That both teams were dysfunctional. But what really worries me, like you said, with the injuries is like Spillane, he's had some really good turnovers in place of Devin Bush, but he's also like, if you really watch the tape, he's taken some bad angles. He's given up so many plays that Devin Bush wouldn't.
Right.
And Alex Highsmith filling in for Bud Dupree, it's just not going to be the same. I mean, those two edges of that line were like the bulwark of our defense. So
right.
I don't know. We'll have to see how we go from here. We got Washington. The spread's 10 right now. Or where's it at? 7?
I see 7. Yeah.
7.
One last thing I'll say though on the Steelers before we go into our picks. I think that they have
really is the worst flavor, but
the worst. I keep seeing you make faces about that. It is the worst flavor. But the Steelers, what I will give them credit, and they deserve the bye because they have been screwed twice due to COVID and not their fault with COVID. They've had games moved. They had their bye week shifted because of the Titans, and then all of this craziness with the Ravens. That I will say that I give them credit for not, for still playing and doing what they can and playing the teams in front of them, even though the other teams are the ones screwing the Steelers schedule over because they aren't being responsible with COVID.
Right. 100% agree.
Yeah. So yeah, Steelers -7 at Washington or at home against Washington
on Monday. Fox said they may or may not cover it depending on your market. So hope you have Sunday ticket if you want to watch that one, but
I do, which is good. And it's 2:00, which will be nice for a little day football. I love that.
Yeah. You're like, boss, I finished early today. That's like every day, but
well, that's the benefit of working from home. They don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just sitting watching the game. I'm working right now and I'm drinking a White Claw at 10:30 in the morning. But I think, what do you think? Are you thinking, is this your first one of the underdog covering the spread?
Absolutely.
Losing?
I got Washington here.
I agree.
There's no evidence they're going to clean it up. There's every evidence that Pittsburgh is going to go into a little 3-game stretch here where they underwhelm and eke out victories. And then I don't know what happens once they hit the Buffalo game. I circled that as a loss at the beginning of the season. I priced in my Steelers disappointments early in the season, not now when they're supposed to clean it up for playoffs. I was like, oh, we're going to lose to Denver. We may lose to Houston.
Once,
and Jacksonville.
Split with the Ravens.
Yeah, split with the Ravens. So I had 3 or 4 losses for the team at this point, but now we got to catch up. So, but I still think they eke this out. I just don't. Washington's not dynamic offensively. They ran all over Dallas, but what does that mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you know, Washington has that pretty good defensive line and a pretty good pass defense, but I don't know that they have enough to beat a Steelers team. I mean, the Steelers, again, they're good. They're a good team, but at 11-0, they're not a good team. You know what I mean by that? And so I think that's that their expectations of Super Bowl contender. I think they're not very good, but I think they're a really good team. And I think good teams win against bad teams, and that's what's going to happen here.
But what's nuts is if they're really not that good, like the Patriots that lost to the Giants and was it 07, they really were amazing. We're like, wow, that team deserved to be 16-0. Like, yeah, was it week 17? They beat the Giants, right?
Yep.
Like that was the Giants looked good, but the Patriots looked really good too. It was a high scoring game. And then the Steelers, you're like, they actually could go undefeated.
Totally.
Like they have Buffalo and Indy left.
Yeah,
and
totally.
They have Cleveland in week 17. Who knows who will be playing who?
Right.
They may just lose that game. I don't know. But if you have the undefeated season, do you want to keep it alive? If you're Mike Tomlin, my guess is Tomlin wouldn't care and would put in backups. But if they're trying to lock up the bye against the Chiefs, they'll have to play it.
That's the thing is that because the Chiefs are 10-1, I think that's going to push the Steelers. I mean, you have to keep playing your starters,
right?
Unless I don't know how the tiebreaker works, so I don't know what would happen if the Steelers ended up losing.
Right. Something that's bugging me is like people because the strength of schedule is going to even out. So Baltimore, what's really bothering me is Baltimore has the hardest strength of schedule, and all these guys are like, the Steelers have like whatever the second or easiest schedule, but they still have to play Cleveland, they still have to play Buffalo, they still have to play Indianapolis. So that's going to even out. Now Baltimore's still going to have a harder strength of schedule because of they played the Chiefs in one of their non-conference, because we're AFC North's playing the AFC South this year,
right? And then
they rotated
schedule.
that, but they got, I think you get like 2 not marquee matchups, but like Jacksonville will play like Jets, and then the good teams will play the good teams. It's like when Peyton Manning and Tom Brady played every year.
Well, so how that works is that whatever position you finish in your division, so if you finish in first, you play the first place in the other AFC teams, and then you also will play the division you're scheduled. So the Steelers came in second last year in the division, so they'll play who finished in second in each division last year.
Is that so? Who did we play for that then?
So Buffalo, they came in second, and then in the AFC West, did you play like the Chargers or Denver? There you go, Denver.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then you'll play one NFC division as well.
But I mean, outside of that, like that means that strength of schedule is not going to, it's like overstated, I think, at like certain points in the year, because it does even out outside of that, right?
Totally. Yeah. No,
so in terms of tiebreaker, I guess the Chiefs would barely have the edge then because they were a first place last year. So that gives them a strength of schedule advantage. But I don't know, right? There's other tiebreakers besides that.
Well, and if you think about that too, with the first place thing, they got the Patriots, who are worse than the Bills this year. So it's always kind of a crapshoot on how that's going to work out.
Right. Yeah, that's so true.
Okay. So we got Steelers. That's Monday night. We kind of jumped ahead to them. Let's go back. If we start off on Sunday morning, starting with Saints Falcons. Saints at the Falcons, -3, over under 45. I like the Falcons in this one. I like them to cover. I like them to win in this game outright.
Okay. I like the Saints, and I like them outright to win.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Saints aren't as good. If you look last week, Denver played really bad with their, wide receiver quarterback. But I think they kept Taysom Hill to like 75 passing yards. They sacked him a few times. If they can keep them in those 3rd and longs, I think that they have a really good chance to, stifle the Saints offense. And the Falcons, I mean, we talk about it every time. They look like they should be so good offensively. So I think they're good offensively, but who knows what they're actually going to end up doing with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that take. My thing is that I see kind of like the dysfunction of Denver the same way I saw the dysfunction of Baltimore. Like if the Steelers had any semblance of an O-line, they could have run the ball all over the Ravens. And that's what New Orleans was able to do, even though they didn't have great quarterback play in terms of passing. But to me, I just think New Orleans is so well coached, so well managed.
Yeah.
They're going to bounce back. They're going to have a better game. I still think it's close, but I think they win by at least 4 or 5.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Lions, Bears -3 at home against the Lions.
Oh, that's painful. Let's be quick on this one.
Yeah, that's a horrible game.
What do you got?
I don't even know. Let's say Bears win by 4.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Bears eke out something.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a game that I'm not even looking at. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, I don't care at all about that.
That's like 5-second red zone flashes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're revealing your location here. Berg's in an undisclosed location, but he's got a dog barking. I saw you
that's my dog.
on camera, but you're starting to give things away here.
No, she's still here, but yeah. And then how about we didn't talk about Patricia getting fired?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like they're gonna have to do what Cleveland did and just cycle through coaches. They could literally be halfway through this disaster. Like we don't know for these like dysfunctional franchises.
True.
They could be 10 years in. They could have 10 more years of this.
I mean, it's the Lions. They're dysfunctional forever. Lions are going to be dysfunctional forever. That's never going to change. They're the Lions. Last thing on the Lions. What do you think about Stafford getting traded for to the Rams for Goff? Not necessarily for Goff, but much better do you think he'd be than Goff? Then let's say for the next 4 years.
The only thing that came to mind is it doesn't matter that much to me. I think the Rams would be fine with Goff. I think the only thing, and this is a really weird nitpicky point, is can he roll like Goff? Can he roll?
Yeah, he can boot out. Yeah. I mean, okay. Goff is the least
mobile. That's the only thing I can think of that McVay is obsessed with that. So
yeah, I mean, Goff's the least mobile quarterback in the NFL. So I think anybody.
No way. Have you heard of Tom? Have you seen Tom Brady move?
I honestly, well, here's the deal.
Just because Goff falls over and you're bitter about the Niners game doesn't mean that he's immobile. He just is clumsy.
No, he's like, immobile.
Tom Brady's way more immobile. It's just Goff trips.
Well, listen, Goff isn't mobile in the pocket, outside of the pocket, anywhere. He fumbles every time he tries to run it. He's just horrible. Brady at least can is shifty in the pocket and can do stuff. All I'm saying is I think that if the Rams had Stafford, because I think Stafford's a very, very, very good quarterback. I don't think he's just solid. Absolutely. Whereas I think Goff's kind of just solid. And I think the Rams would be the best team in the NFL if they had Stafford. Because that right now we'll get to the Rams. We don't need to talk about them right now. But anyways, yeah, I would like Stafford on the Rams. Moving on, Tennessee at home against the Browns. Tennessee -5.5. I think the Browns keep it close. Over under 54. I like the under. They're going to run the ball a million times.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought you were going to go with Tennessee, but I did the same thing. I took the Browns. I think people are too hyped on the Titans after the big win last week against the Colts.
Yeah, and we keep saying it about the Titans. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. So if you give Baker time, I think he's an accurate quarterback. He's a good quarterback if you don't get pressure on him. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think it'll be interesting because it's two great running backs. Chubb's an awesome running back. Derrick Henry is obviously an animal. And I think this is one of those games that if you're in a fantasy league, you better hope you're not playing against Derrick Henry right now because I can just feel that he's going off for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Absolutely. King Henry. And I think the one thing on the pass stretch, it's actually even worse than I think people think because the sacks they're getting are when they have big leads and the other team's desperate to come from behind and they're getting 1 or 2 sacks that way.
Yeah. And
how many sacks they've had coverage sacks? How many sacks have they had that have been real sacks when a game's close
right?
I don't know if there's an advanced stat for that, but it'd be interesting.
I'm sure there is. Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those, and that's where this game, they're going to get no pressure, right? Because you can't sell out on the pass against the Browns because they have such a good run game. So they're going to be selling out against the run. And then it's going to be Baker Mayfield just sitting back there with all the time in the world. So yeah,
I think trade for Baker. He can roll out of the pocket.
I don't want Baker. I like Baker, but my thing, same thing with the problem with Goff is I don't want ups and downs. I just want consistently good, and I'd be okay with even consistently average. Like Tannehill, I think he is really good, but I don't think he's spectacular. I'm okay with consistently solid. I don't want ups and downs.
Yeah, I don't think Tannehill's that much different than Goff outside of the mobility factor.
But Tannehill
You had to
doesn't
grade
make
those
mistakes
guys.
anymore like Goff does. Tannehill doesn't just doesn't blow it, which is all you need from a quarterback.
True.
Okay. I want to hear what you have to say about this one. Dolphins, Bengals, Dolphins at home, minus 11.5, over under 42.5.
Bengals all the way. This is not that hard.
Tell me who is starting at quarterback for the Bengals.
Is it Ryan? He's been their backup for a long time. Say his name.
No, Ryan Lindsley.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that's who it is, I think. Hold on. Ryan Finley.
Yeah. He's been the backup. He was Dalton's backup. I've seen him play in a couple games.
No, Brandon Allen is starting.
Oh, did he get hurt?
No, Ryan Finley's just still the backup.
Oh, they made him a third string. No, this is way more about Miami than Cincinnati.
You don't like Miami? I think Miami's defense is legit, and they can pressure a quarterback, and the Bengals have a horrible offensive line. I think that they're going to sack Brandon Allen 800 times.
No, who has Miami blown out besides the Niners?
The Rams.
Right. That was it. I mean, so they did well against the NFC West. They beat the Cardinals too. My thing is Fitzpatrick or Tua starting?
I'm trying to look at this right now. I don't know. Tua is still kind of hurt, so they don't know if he's playing or not. I think so. Tua will start.
But they still have a line. So the line's about the Bengals, not about Miami.
Right. And I think that's how bad the Bengals are. Tua, if Tua's healthy, it's his thumb. If he's healthy, he's playing. But if not, it'll be Fitzpatrick. And in their wins, Dolphins blew out the Jags, blew out the Niners, blew out the Jets. They beat the Rams only by 9, but it was a blowout. It just was closer. And then beat the Cardinals and Chargers close, and then blew out the Jets again. I mean, they've blown out every bad team they've played. They've blown out. So I could see them blowing out the Bengals.
Yeah, but this week for me is bad teams not losing by a lot.
I like it.
Bad teams not losing by a lot. Raspberry White Claws. You have to take the worst team.
This is the Raspberry White Claw week.
It's the Raspberry White Claw week. If it's going to deliver, it's going to deliver. You never wanted it, but it happened.
Love that. I love that.
Okay.
All right. Minnesota minus 10 at home against the Jaguars. Minnesota minus 10, taking them.
These lines are huge. This is what's crazy about this week. This week is the hardest week because this is not -7. Like, the Steelers line got bid down to -7 after terrible performance against Baltimore. That was -10 before that. But no, -10 is way too much.
I think they win by 100. Jags are horrible. Who's their quarterback this week? Mike Glennon. He's awful.
Yeah, they said he's outperforming Jake Luton and Gardner Minshew. Are you kidding me?
That's a low bar.
That's a solid C quarterback right there.
That's a low bar. And the Vikings actually are playing a lot better right now and look pretty good. So I mean, we'll see, but I think they win by a ton.
I know what you're saying. I had Vikings D last week. Listen to this. So I had. Did you follow the whole Taysom Hill debacle and ESPN? You're not playing fantasy.
I don't do fantasy.
Did you hear about it?
Uh-uh.
So the thing was, ESPN's so dysfunctional. Only use Yahoo, but I have a ESPN league, and I got Taysom Hill off waivers a couple weeks ago. They listed him as a tight end and a quarterback.
Right, I knew that.
For the first week, I put him in at tight end. Then they say I play him at tight end, whatever, he gets me 17. Then they say the next week, they say he's no longer a tight end, but they had a carve out that if you didn't change anyone on your roster, you could just keep him there. They wouldn't manually go in and remove him. So I'm like, all right, my roster's set for the rest of the year. But my league manager goes in and pulls him out after the game's kickoff. So the Denver game's already started. And I said, this is unprecedented. I did a press release, Barstool style, for immediate release to the whole league, telling them, because that was such an authoritarian move by my league manager. I'm not going to name names, but
I will say in our league that we used to play in, I quit the league because something like that happened to me.
It's reckless authoritarianism.
I said I will not play in a league like this, and so I left the league after that season.
After kickoff, I got Taysom Hill pulled from my roster. Cheap.
That's so annoying.
So I don't even know what the point of that was, but I mean, needless to say, I'm starting Taysom Hill at quarterback because I had Ben Roethlisberger. But it's funny because I had Minnesota at defense, and I was like, I guess I have Minnesota defense the rest of the year because I was trying to make a run with Taysom at tight end.
I mean,
but I don't know. We'll see if I even make playoffs.
It's that advantageous to have a second quarterback playing that it's worth it to just take your chances with.
Yeah.
You're just praying everyone stays healthy. That's all you're doing at that point. Is like, all right, let's see what happens.
No, I think because like some people like were maybe gonna have COVID or maybe gonna be hurt, and I'm just like, we'll just keep them in.
I love that.
I'll take a 0 at this spot so that I can have Taysom Hill at tight end next week. So
seriously. Okay, great. So moving on, this will be a quick one. Raiders at Jets. Raiders -8.5 on the road. You think Jets cover?
Let me see what I got here. No, this one. No, I don't have any respect for the Jets. I'm taking Vegas.
Do you think they?
No, I'm just kidding you. I'm taking the Jets, Berg. I'm taking the Jets.
Are you taking every single underdog? Oh, no, you're taking every underdog on the big spreads. Okay.
On the big spreads, correct.
Okay, got it.
No, I mean, we'll get there, but
do you have anything to say about the Raiders Jets?
No, I'm super disappointed in the Raiders at Atlanta.
I
felt really good about them after the Chiefs game. I watched that game. I enjoyed it. Although we had another blackout here in California, so I lost part of the game. Didn't get to see it. But no, it was a great game. I thought they played really well, and then just a complete dud. They're not making the playoffs. I'm so disappointed. I didn't want them to become a middling team. I don't like the Raiders, the new stadium. I wanted them to be a wild card team this year. It's better for the league. It's better for everyone. Let's enjoy the Raiders for a season, have a wild card team.
I mean, I completely agree. I'm on the same page. I mean, the Raiders are one of those teams that I want them to be good so that I can hate them. Hating them when they're bad just feels mean. And so
if you want to hate a team, watch them lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Exactly. That's what I want. I want them to lose in the playoffs in a heartbreaking fashion. I don't want them to all of a sudden look good, go on a run, beat the Chiefs, and then, play them tight at the second time. And then I thought they were going to go in and destroy the Falcons, and they went and just laid an all-time egg. And so I'm writing them off. They're done.
So disappointing.
Great. So moving on.
Then we have another example of that. Indy at Houston. Indy just laying a complete egg.
Yeah, what is going on? I thought they were good too. So, I've been talking about their defense all year, especially their run defense. Now, I don't think it makes all the difference, but DeForest Buckner was out last week, and I think that does help in the run game. But I want
to flash that graphic. How many times, if you're the producer of the game when they're getting blown out by Tennessee, how many times do you flash the DeForest Buckner graphic?
Every single play.
It's it's like the Tom Brady game that when they were playing the Chiefs. How many times did Tony Romo? People were tweeting about it. How many times did they bring up Bruce Arians? How many times was he defending him against Bruce Arians? Tony Romo. It was 1,000,000 times.
Right.
Just flash that to Forrest Buckner.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that makes a big difference. So I think that spread is too low. 3.5 is too low. I think they're taking into account what happened last week. And I think that's not realistic because Buckner was out. And so I think they cover that 3.5.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. And Houston lost Will Fuller.
Yeah. Which is a huge loss. Did you see that? I didn't realize, Brian Cushing is their strength and conditioning coach.
No.
And he's got popped for steroids 5 times. So everyone's like, yeah, no shit that they got all of that. So
yeah, I'd love to know who it was.
I
said it wasn't someone affiliated with the organization, like it was a third party. Who knows though?
Right, exactly.
It was an Instagram post. It wasn't like a deposition in court.
Right. Okay, so I hate my answer on this, but we're going with our gut. We're going with Raspberry White Claw right now. Rams at Cardinals. Rams -2.5. I like the Cardinals.
Okay, but the Rams and the Cardinals are much better than a Raspberry White Claw. So you're selling your team short here.
But I'm saying the Raspberry White Claw, I got to go with my gut. And I'm saying that I think that the Cardinals, I think that I really hope not. I'm going to be really disappointed. But yeah, I think the Cardinals cover 2.5. I don't think the Rams are. I'm so down on the Rams right now because of that loss. Literally, the last time we did this, I was saying the Rams are winning the Super Bowl and they were the best team in the NFC.
So this was the hardest game of the week for me. Look at my sheets, printed out sheets. I didn't circle it. So I'm gonna make my decision now. I'm gonna go with the Rams just to try to help you out because you're so down in the dumps.
I appreciate
If I really was picking, I'd pick the Cardinals too.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals. My thing is, this is why I don't ever bet on the Rams. I will never bet a Rams game. I'll bet like an over/under or something like that, but I don't ever bet them to win because I'm way too emotional and I'm so down on the Rams right now that I'm like, oh yeah, Cardinals are definitely going to win, and I think the Rams are actually going to win, but I'm just so down on them.
Yeah, so take me through that last week because I was not a part of that game, wasn't a part of that afternoon experience, but it just seems like it was a disaster.
Yeah, the offense played horrible. And I think that's the problem, like with Goff. Again, he had 3 turnovers, 2 really bad picks, and then a fumble, which was a stupid fumble, him trying to scramble for a first down and tried to juke out a defender and ended up fumbling. And it's like, dude, you couldn't juke
What
me
did
out.
McVay say? I heard he said something.
He just was like, our quarterback needs to take better care of the ball, which Sean McVay has never said a negative thing about Jared Goff the entire time he's been here. And so that was the first time he was like, he needs to take better care of the ball. And I think, Goff's, the thing I love about him is he's tough. It's so weird because he's just dumb. I think he's dumb in that he doesn't understand and he never gets like super hyped up or super down, which is nice because then somebody can talk trash. Like, McVay can come at him and Goff doesn't care. He just moves forward. So, hold on.
Press continue.
Okay, cool. So moving forward, we have the Giants at the Seahawks. Seahawks minus 10.5. Are you taking the Giants?
Insanity to me. 10.5. What is this week? Double digit spreads everywhere, left and right.
Is Daniel Jones hurt?
I don't know, but 10.5.
Daniel Jones has not practiced all week.
Okay, that helps.
I think that's where that 10.5 is coming from. I think the Giants are the best team in the NFC East.
Yeah, the Redskins. I liked how I liked how Philly played on defense against Seattle. Do you watch that game Monday night?
I did.
I like their defense. They played really well, I thought. The offense was atrocious.
Well, I mean, DK Metcalf is an animal. He went off. But other than that, I agree. Yeah, I think if Daniel Jones plays, this might be one of those that I might have to make the real gamble and get my bet in before we find out about Daniel Jones. And I just hope that he's...
Yeah, this is really interesting from like a professional standpoint. If you're a gambler at 10.5, you've got to like this in the sense that you have a lot of asymmetric upside risk if you bet this 10.5 and Daniel Jones plays.
Totally.
Like from a professional standpoint, this is a nice spot to be in if you think Daniel Jones plays.
Totally. No, I agree.
There's just no way it stays at 10.5 if Daniel Jones plays.
I agree.
I think it opened at 7.
Okay.
So you're getting 3.5,
right. Which is crazy to think Daniel Jones is worth 3.5 points, but I agree with that. All right, here's the question for you.
Well, I don't think he's worth 3.5. Hold on, let's talk about this because it's really interesting. I think when the bigger the spread, the bigger the multiplier. So if you got a game close to even, a quarterback's like 1. But in a game, I think the farther the game gets away, there's got to be a formula there, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think part of that too, as the numbers get bigger, you start factoring in like, what's the difference? If I'm betting, what's the difference between a 10-point spread and an 11-point spread? Like that's a big one. But 11 versus 12, you never see somebody win by 12 points. Right. So it doesn't really matter. That extra point doesn't matter. Yep. So I think going from 7 to 10.5 is really like, that's a field goal. It's not that much of a difference. Whereas like 0 to 3 is a huge difference because teams all the time can win by 1 or 2 because of 2-point conversions and all that stuff. So right. I think that's a big thing. Here's the one trivia question, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
In this game, Giants, Seahawks, who do you think the leading rusher in the entire game is?
Will Gallman.
Daniel Jones.
Damn it.
He has 403 rushing yards. That's pretty good. All right.
Man, that's how much Chris Carson's been hurt. That really shows.
Right.
And their backfield isn't doing great this week either.
So we can actually keep talking about this because I think this is interesting. The Giants are actually a pretty good team. Imagine if they had Saquon still. Yeah. That's like not bad. I mean, they're 4-7, which is not great. They've won 3 in a row. I mean, I think they're doing a lot better. I think that they're again, I think they're by far the best team in the NFC, in the NFC East. And I think with Saquon, they run away with this division at 8-8. They run away with
run
it.
away 8-8.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
8-8.
I think the Saquon injury was really tough, and they're way more well-rounded than any of the other teams. I think Philly's interesting on D. I think Washington interesting in aspects on O and D. Dallas dysfunctional. Yeah, New York, and especially with Daniel Jones, his mobility. And you were so down on Daniel Jones, and I defended him a couple months ago.
He can run. I mean, he's
You're
not
ready
a good
to move off him. You're like,
I still am,
off.
but
they started
0-5,
so.
Yeah, I still am. I think he can run. I think he just makes too many mistakes and turns the ball over too much. I think if you're the Giants, you still think about quarterback. If at your point in the draft, wherever they end up, so if they end up winning the division, that might be the worst thing for them. But if they end up with a good draft pick, I would strongly consider getting another quarterback. If they're at 12 and all of a sudden, Mac Jones or the guy from BYU or whatever drops to you,
right,
I would strongly think about getting a quarterback. Now, I just, because I don't think Daniel Jones is a long-term solution. I think he's okay, but I don't think he's your guy. As we just said, like, they have a good team everywhere else. It's literally just, their quarterback isn't great at this point. They need a couple more ones on offense, but anyways.
Yep. No, I think a fun, have you heard this fun one in terms of draft trades? Dallas, that they're falling so much, and then they ship Dak and their pick to move up and try to get Trevor Lawrence. That just sounds like the most Jerry Jones thing ever. Now, I don't think anyone does it.
The Jets might.
That's what they're saying. The Jets might. If
I would do
it. The Jets, his career's ruined. But
I would do it. If I was a different team, I would do it. Because I think the only reason I'd be hesitant is I don't know how Dak's going to be post-injury. So that's my only hesitation. But if Dak was healthy, so let's say Dak gets back to fully healthy Dak and normal Dak, I do it in a heartbeat, because you see so many guys that come in. Now, Trevor Lawrence is a little different because he is the best quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning, right? So I think
Peyton, you're no more Andrew Luck. Just throw that
I
out
think
the
he's
window.
better.
Move to the 1990s. You want to move to the 1990s right now?
I do. I think so, because here's the thing: every single thing you'd want in a quarterback, Trevor Lawrence has, including winning, and that's the difference. Is he's won a national championship. Do you know how many games Trevor Lawrence has lost in his career at Clemson?
I think it's 0.
1. He lost the national championship game last year at LSU. That's the only game he's ever lost in his entire career. And not only has he done that, he's performed incredibly well. He makes good decisions. He can run. He's big. Like, he can literally do everything. So I think he's incredible. So, but all that being said, if you know what you're getting in a quarterback, I would do that. And if you're a team like the Colts, or I'm just trying to think through teams that are a quarterback away from being an elite team, I would do that. Yeah. And so, but the Colts won't have a good enough pick, but like the Broncos maybe, or I'm just trying to think, like, if you could,
because you've got to take into factor the salary cap. So the Colts are a team are set up to take on Dak's contract.
Mm-hmm.
There's other teams like, why, if you're the Jets, when you have no talent around him, why would you want to take on Dak's contract and limit your talent pool to sign other talent? You have dead money on Le'Veon Bell. I think it's a mess. They're dysfunctional.
Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't do that if I was the Jets, because they're not close to competing. But if you're a team that thinks you're close to competing, I would take that trade every time, because then you're also going to get the Cowboys pick, and that you can go get your left tackle, or you can go get a receiver or whatever with that next pick.
Right.
I don't know. I'd think about it.
Yeah, we've just seen like half of the Super Bowl teams lately have been teams with quarterbacks on rookie contracts. So
I agree, but I also think if you can get a guy like, and that's what I think about the Chiefs, they figured out, and they had Mahomes on his rookie deal, but they're still going to be good forever because they have the guy. They have their quarterback.
Right.
And so if you can get a quarterback who, it doesn't matter how much you pay him, if you can get a quarterback that is good enough to win you games, I think you do that every single time. If you want to win games right away, the Jets shouldn't want to win games for like 3 years. So I don't think that that's them. Another team I think that would be good. I think the Dolphins, but I think they like Tua, but I'm not sold on Tua yet. But I think if you can get, if you're the Dolphins, I'd go take Dak.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting too. I think they're just going to be patient with it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, getting back to our picks.
Okay,
Now we have
left.
at the Packers, Eagles at Packers. Packers are favored by 8.5.
Philly spread. Bad teams don't lose by a lot.
I'm taking the Packers.
Did you just hear that puff piece that came out on ESPN that Carson Wentz is taking responsibility and the team feels inspired? Come on, you got to buy that PR. You know
Carson's
that Philadelphia,
so
you know that Philadelphia marketing. They called up ESPN. They said, "Hey, we're going to get that out there. There's a bad narrative in the media." ESPN said, "Yeah, I'll do you a favor. You just got to give Adam Schefter a scoop later when you do a trade or you do a draft pick." This is how it happens in the slimy sports media, Berg.
I get
I'm
it.
telling you, Carson Wentz, they're working the narrative back. The marketing team is. You got to read that piece on ESPN.
Well, I saw the headline. I think he's horrible. Carson Wentz is so bad. And here's the other thing I'll say then. In that situation, that makes me even stronger on the Packers because then the line might be factoring that in. People are thinking that the Eagles are all going to be fired up and all this stuff. And I don't think that matters.
Or it could just be fake news in their marketing. They're desperate.
That's what I'm saying. And so because of that, though, bettors and us dumb people read that and go, oh, man, the Eagles are going to come out firing because Carson Wentz is, doing awesome and he's inspiring everyone and taking all this responsibility. I think the Packers win by 2 touchdowns. I might even sell some points and get a higher spread and take the Packers at like 13.5.
You know who's someone who needs to be traded for? We're talking about the draft picks. Get Miles Sanders out of there.
I agree.
He's good. I like him.
I agree.
But it's dysfunctional.
It's crazy because I was listening to Pardon My Take and they were talking about this too. It's the same thing that happened last year with the Rams. When a coach says, oh man, I got to do a better job of getting this guy involved. It's a running back. Just hand the ball to him. How are you going to give him 6 touches? He's your best offensive player. How are you going to give him 6 touches in a game like that? Like that in a game they could have won. How are you going to give your best player 6 touches? Miles Sanders is very good. I agree with you. Very good. Problem is running backs are the most overvalued thing in sports. There's no reason to pay a running back. So,
and the coach may not finish the season, Doug Peterson.
I agree with that too. I think he'll stay. I think the players like him, so he'll stay. And I could even see him staying next year, but I think he's kind of lost it. And I think the Packers are good. And I think that we talk about the Packers lacking that toughness. The Eagles are not a tough team, so I'm not worried about that. The Eagles have no toughness, so that's not a team that gives the Packers trouble.
Especially not on offense.
Right. I could see a team
which is where it would matter. Because the Packers' finesse talent can overwhelm that when the Packers are on offense.
Right. And so toughness, not an issue with the Eagles. I think Packers win by a ton.
So let's do New England at the Chargers. Anthony Lynn's trying to hold on to his job. This is a fun one because it's a pick 'em, whatever. You can say -1, +1 here or there, but it's fun because we've had these giant spreads and now we've got a close one here.
Gotta be the Patriots, right? Chargers just can't win. I think that's an easy one. It's gotta be the Patriots.
Gotta be the Patriots.
I like Chargers. I like Justin Herbert, but I mean, Anthony Lynn also, did you see all of the analysis? Do you follow Andrew Sharp and see what he talks about?
No.
So he sent out this whole tweet thread, but basically the Chargers mismanaged that game so poorly in their last game. Like he said that Anthony Lynn on the spot should have been fired for what he did in this game because they threw a Hail Mary, ran the ball a bunch, didn't call their timeouts. They just it was horrible at the end of that game. So I think
that. Did you watch the Steelers-Ravens end of the first half?
Yeah, that was crazy.
What do you think of that? Do you think that should have been delay game? Harbaugh was losing it. And as a Steelers fan, that's like you at the Raiders, happy to watch them lose in the playoffs. That made my day, whether we win or lose.
Yeah.
Just to see them, the amount of fury, because we've been on both sides of that in a big rivalry. It was hilarious just to watch that pile take its time and then look like it's a touchdown and then get it popped out. Oh, that was just heartwarming.
I agree. I think here's my take. I think that if they call delay a game, that's a soft call. However, it was a delay of game. That's the right call. The right call is a soft call, but the correct call would have been delay game.
Okay, so you're trying to thread that needle, letting them play a little rougher at the end of the game on Hail Marys. You have to take into account the spirit of the game.
Totally. It's gamesmanship. That's what you do. It's same thing in the NBA. You don't call ticky-tack fouls with 2 minutes left. But it's a foul. So at certain times they'll call fouls and you're like, oh, that was so soft. And you're like, yeah, it definitely was soft. Right. But it's the right call. So I think, I'm glad they let them play But if it was the Rams, I'd be furious and lose my mind that should have been a delay game.
Yeah. So Anthony Lynn, mismanagement. And then on the other side, you have
Fired.
Bill Belichick, who does he lose to rookie quarterbacks? I mean, it's nuts.
No, he won't. I'm not worried about that. Patriots will win. I think it's going to be an ugly game, though. I don't think it'll be fun to watch if I had to
That's
guess.
SoFi Stadium, though, the new stadium in LA. So
love that stadium.
I'll clean it up a little bit.
Love that stadium.
I'd love to go. It looks amazing.
Can't wait. All right, biggest spread of the week. Sunday night game. Broncos at Chiefs, 14.
Raspberry no more.
Taking the Chiefs.
Fire me up. Chiefs by 1 million.
I mean, I agree.
I mean, I'm sticking to my guns with this. Bad teams don't lose by a lot, but not when you're playing the Chiefs. Not when you're
I think you need to be on the Broncos.
League.
I think you need to be on the Broncos. You just need to stick with your strategy.
Nope, not after what I saw last week. I ignored that Rams disaster at the Niners, so that I could watch that Denver receiver play quarterback. It was a letdown. You missed nothing. He missed nothing.
Yeah, that was bad.
8 pass attempts, like two interceptions. Oh man.
Patrick Mahomes. There is a very real situation when Patrick Mahomes could throw for 1,000 yards in a game.
1,000?
1,000 yards. He threw for 300 yards in the first quarter last game.
But you need the other team to be as
That's
explosive.
why he couldn't do it.
Lamar Jackson 2.0, or you need that Chiefs Rams game from a couple years ago.
Yes.
Because there's no reason for him to throw for 1,000 yards unless you get him playing himself.
I agree. It's going to be a 75-75 game.
So is it going to be him versus Trevor Lawrence or something?
Yeah, I could see that. And what's a team that has like no
Cowboys
defense?
After they make the trade?
That's exactly
in the dome.
In the dome with no defense. The Cowboys have no defense. Patrick Mahomes. I love that. I'm so in. And the Cowboys have oh my gosh, I'm getting all hyped for this.
What's
right
your
now.
payout on that? How much are you putting down? Is that like
1,000 yards?
1,000 to 1?
For 1,000 yards, that's like 10,000 to 1. That's never
10,000 to 1.
The most passing yards is like 600 or something.
Okay, I want to see you put 100 down on that and make $1 million.
Okay, I'm in. I think that happens. I think the over/under conservatively on that game would be 75. Like, I don't know. There's nothing high enough for me to take that. The Rams Chiefs was the highest over/under set on a game of all time, and they hit it in the third quarter. That's how insane that season was.
That's nuts.
Game.
Last week was a bounce back for the unders, though.
Yeah, last week was a big unders week.
Big bounce back, especially with I think more and more it's over, just the way the league's going. But
I'm taking that over on 51, over under 51 against the Broncos. I'm taking the over.
Yeah. Is Denver getting any quarterbacks back? I mean, that doesn't matter because you can just have the Chiefs have 40, but
I think they do.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be even more based on what we saw out of that receiver last week. It would be like 25 if that guy was playing again.
Yeah.
We talked Steelers, Washington, Bills, Niners. Maybe the game of the week. Are we thinking that? I'm trying to look through.
Well, I like it in the sense that it's the Niners season and they've stepped up a couple of times now, hampered by injuries. Maybe game of the week. I think Rams Arizona should be the game of the week. It's just both have underwhelmed the last couple of weeks, right? Arizona's down to 6-5 now, right?
Yep.
So I think that should be the game of the week. Cleveland at Tennessee can never be game of the week because it's teams that have never proven themselves to be more relevant than wildcard teams.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, I'd say Buffalo at San Francisco's game of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has to be right. But the interesting wrinkle on this, I wonder how it's going to play out from a betting perspective. The game's at the Cardinals.
Right. I know that's fun. We didn't mention that one because the Cardinals are playing the day before, right? It's just 2 days in a row.
Yeah, they at home. Yeah. 2 in a row. Oh yeah, they're playing the Rams. Yeah, so I wonder what that does from a gambling perspective because you usually think about 3 points. COVID has shaved that maybe to be like 2 or 2.5. It's not.
Buffalo's already played in that stadium. That's where they lost to the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
I like Buffalo here because they already played in the stadium. It's where they got the Hail Mary thrown on them. It's interesting. A lot of these teams have had to make so many cross-country trips with the NFC West playing the AFC East, but
and to factor that too, what's been crazy.
Except for the Patriots, spoiled. I guess they're going to the Chargers, but that's AFC West.
And they go to the Rams. it's crazy because the NFC West plays the AFC East and the NFC East. So that's why there's been so many cross countries, is because both of those are playing the NFC West.
Right.
It depends on what Niners show up. The Niners last week were pretty dang good. So if they play like that, I think they could beat the Bills, but I think I would take the Bills in this situation.
I would too. It's a big one for them. They're trying to stay in the hunt for something more than just winning their division. They look good. I think they remind me of the old Steelers. I keep saying that, but the Steelers from a few years ago, there's nothing special, but they're just solid. It's like they have mobility with Josh Allen. They can run, they can pass. Nobody's outstanding, like superstar, but they have a lot of stars, and they're at least a B everywhere. So I like the Bills.
Yep, I agree with that.
Well, that does it. What else do we want to do? We want to do NBA or we want to save it?
Let's do NBA. What do we got?
Man, Russell Westbrook. That's what we got.
Love that. I don't know what.
It's so weird.
I don't know what the Washington's thinking.
It's so weird.
I don't know what that gives you, but I think they needed a change, and the contracts matched up. I get it. I think that's an awesome move for Houston. If you're Houston, I think you get the pick. I think that's great. I don't think that Washington's going to be any good, so I think it's going to end up being a good pick. I don't know. I didn't see what the protections are on that pick, but I think that's a great trade for Houston.
Well, it's protected. I don't know what the protections are, but it's protected. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a great move, but I don't know what Washington's doing. I don't think Russell Westbrook is at all better fit than John Wall was. I think the contracts are the same. The only thing I think is that and I think his contract goes longer.
Can you say the same for Houston?
No, because they got a pick, and they're going to trade James Harden, and they just are trying to rebuild. They're going full rebuild right now.
Okay.
So I think that was a great move for Houston.
Tillman Fertitta, the owner, he's so pissed. He's so mad because he came in saying, we're going to do whatever we have to do. We're going to trade people. We're going to make moves. We're not going to try the same thing over and over again. The Albert Einstein thing, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over, different result. But to me, it's like he's almost like took Albert Einstein's advice way too far. Like it starts to seem like Houston's just doing stuff like constantly, and it's not. You're just like. That was like that woman who always has to clean the kitchen, like manically. It's like, you're not doing anything. You're not getting closer to a championship. You're just like being a playoff team every year, like mixing and matching pieces.
Right. No, I agree. And I think that was a big Daryl Morey thing. I think he was always making moves. I think he was the mad scientist doing all of that. I think they were in a tough spot, right? Because they were good. They were very good. And it overlapped with the Warriors dynasty. So then they had to build their entire team to go against the Warriors. And then all of a sudden, hey, the Warriors are coming down, KD left, Clay's out for the season. Let's make our run now. Well, oh wait, the Lakers are now really good. And oh, by the way, the Lakers play the exact opposite of how the Warriors.
Yeah, we don't match up at all.
Yeah. Now we don't match up with them. So I think that's, they were in a tough spot. And so I think that's kind of the unfortunate thing for them. But I mean, listen, the team that you look at almost now and try to emulate is the Thunder, right? The Thunder traded all of their players and now have 75 first-round picks over the next 3 years. And, and they were a playoff team. They thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league last year.
And they could have beaten the Rockets in Game 7. Totally.
So they went from teams thought they were literally projected to be one of the worst teams in the league last year. It ended up being super good. And so, now they've traded, they traded Chris Paul, they traded Dennis Schroeder, all these things, but now they just have infinite more picks. So, I mean, that's, I think, what the Thunder or the Rockets are going to try to do in trading, trade Russell Westbrook, get a pick, and then they're going to trade James Harden and get picks and players and everything that goes on. So, I like the move. I also think, you're looking at it now and Lakers just re-signed Anthony Davis and LeBron for an extended amount of time. So now if I'm another team, I'm not worrying too much about trying to compete right now. I'm trying to think, hey, if I can do a total tear down and rebuild and be good in 3 years, that might be the time that we want to do that. And so I think that's what the Rockets are doing.
Yeah. And then which teams do you think are the opposite of that? Like, no, we're holding out, a Lakers player could get LeBron or AD could get injured. That would probably be Denver, Utah. Portland. Who else?
Portland. I think Portland is that team that I think they've gone all in, and I think they have a good team. I think they have a really good team. I'd say they're top 3 in the West, especially with Clay being out now. I think it goes Lakers, Clippers, Portland. But I don't think they have any
Clippers, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that Portland has any chance of competing. So I don't think they have any chance of being good, but like NBA title good. But I think that they're a really good team that's going to give, trouble for a lot of teams in the playoffs and stuff.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, we got the Sixers, we got Simmons, we got Embiid, we got my Kings, who got Hassan Whiteside back, even though, we drafted him for nothing. We give him to the Heat for nothing, and then we sign him back for a bunch of money. So there's that dysfunction. But
well, I did see, though, that for any player that scored more than 500 points last season, he signed for the fewest dollars per point of any player in the NBA last year.
And he's showing up in Sacramento. So,
hey, we like that. Last gambling tip tonight, Cal Poly, I think hosting San Francisco, USF, okay. -13. USF is. I think I'm taking Cal Poly to cover, +13.
Go Mustangs.
Yeah, I also lost on USF earlier this year. So, yeah, I'm going to go put that bet in right now. +13 Cal Poly. I know nothing about them, but go Mustangs.
Go Mustangs. Finish up your White Claw burgers. Good talking. Enjoy yourself from your secret location. There we go. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Spitting Fire. We'll see you next week.